Dear students, now we shall learn the second part of the lesson, vegetative morphology. Last class we have learned up to aerial stem modification. In that we have seen creepers, tailors, climbers, phylloclade, cladode and thorns. Now we shall learn from subaerial modification. Subaerial stems are seen in the plants which are having weak stems, in which these branches will lie horizontally on the ground. These subaerial stems are meant for vegetative propagation. They may be subaerial or partially subterranean. There are four types of subaerial stem modifications. They are runners, stolen, suckers and offset. First one, runners. Runners example oxalis, which we can see in this picture, and lawn grass, that is Cynodon dactylon. So here the stem will be slender and prostrate and its branches creep on the ground and roots will be produced at the nodes. You know what are nodes? Nodes are the point of attachment of leaf on the stem. So roots will be produced at these nodes, by which it can also be propagated. The second one is called as stolen. Stolen example Mentha piperita and Fragaria indica. The stem will be slender and lateral branch originate at the base of the stem, and first it grows obliquely above the ground. When it touches the ground, it produces roots and become an independent plantlet. So it can be cut off at this region and this can be used as an independent plantlet, propagated as independent plant. This is an example picture of the stolen Fragaria indica. The third one is sucker. Sucker example chrysanthemum and bambusa. Bambusa is bamboo. So here the stem develops, the underground stem develops and grow obliquely upward and give rise to a separate plantlets or a new plant. And we can cut here and propagate this as an individual plant. Fourthly, we have offset. So offset is seen in the water plants like Acornia, water hyacinth and Pistia, water lettuce. It is very similar to the runner on the ground, but it is found in the water. These plants, they have a special type of leaves, that is rosette-form leaves, in which all the leaves will be attached at a point, is called as a node, and a short thick lateral branch arises from this lower axis, which will grow horizontally without leaf for short distance. Then it produces a bunch of rosette leaves on top and roots down at the nodes. Example Acornia. This is the picture of the Acornia offset. Thirdly, we have the underground stem modification. Underground stems are not seen on top. They are under the soil. They are not roots because they possess the nodes, internodes, and scale leaves are present and buds also will be produced out of it. The rootstock also lack root cap. The roots from it will lack the root cap and the root hairs, but instead they will possess the terminal bud, which is a characteristic feature of the stem. And this underground stem modification includes four types. They are bulb, corm, rhizome and tuber. First one, bulb. So bulb is a condensed conical convex stem and that will be surrounded by fleshy scale leaves. And this bulb is again classified into tunicated bulb and scaly bulb. In tunicated bulb, the stem is much condensed and surrounded by several concentric layers of scale leaves. The inner leaves are commonly fleshy than the outer one. The outer ones will be dry. Outer scale leaves are dry. They can be classified into two: simple tunicated bulb as in the case of Allium cepa or onion, and compound tunicated bulb, example Allium sativum, that is garlic. Second one is called as corm. So corm example Amorphophallus, Colocasia and Colchicum. So here the underground stem will be succulent, spherical or globose in shape. On them there are many embedded axillary buds which are called as eyes. These succulent underground stem, they will have an erect stem growing from it. And this culm is surrounded by many scale leaves and they exhibit nodes and internodes on them. Example, Colocasia culm. This is a picture of culm. Then third one is the rhizome. So rhizome is Zingiber officinale. Zingiber officinale is ginger, Canna is chevrolet, and Curcuma longa is turmeric, and Musa is varai maram. So they have underground stem which will grow horizontally with several lateral growing tips. It will have the nodes, this is the node, and internodes also will be present, and they are covered by the scale leaves. The last one is called tuber. Tuber, example, Solanum tuberosum, Helianthus tuberosum, in which they possess, they will produce the underground stem which are called as tubers. Now let us learn about stem branching. What is branching? The mode of arrangement of branches on a stem is known as branching. There are two types of branching. The first one is lateral branching, second one is dichotomous branching. Lateral branching, the main stem will produce branches at any direction from the main stem. Whereas dichotomous branching, the main stem will divide into two branches. They will divide into two branches. Then it is called as dichotomous branching. This we can see in the bryophytes, whereas lateral branching will be seen in all the shrubs and trees, etc. Based on the growth pattern, the stems may be divided into indeterminate or determinate growth. So in indeterminate growth or monopodial branching, example Polyalthea. So in this, the terminal bud will grow uninterrupted, it will grow taller and taller and produces several lateral branches, and this type of growth is known as monopodial branching. Whereas in the determinate or the sympodial branching, example Cycas, the terminal bud will cease to grow, it will not grow after some period, and further growth will be taken care by the several lateral meristem or the buds, and this type of growth is known as sympodial branching. What are buds? Buds are the growing points, and this will be surrounded by protective scale leaves. The bud primordium matures into bud, and they have compressed axis in which all the internodes are not elongated, and the young leaves are also closed and crowded at one place. It can develop into lateral branches or may even terminate by developing into a flower or inflorescence. Based on the origin of buds, they are classified into terminal or apical, secondly lateral or axillary or axil, thirdly extra axillary, fourth one accessory bud, fifth one adventitious bud, sixth one bulbils. Based on the functions, they are classified into two: vegetative bud, floral bud, or reproductive bud. Vegetative bud will give rise to the stem or the branches, whereas floral bud or reproductive bud will give rise to the flower, which is the reproductive organ of the plant. Now let us see the types of buds one by one. Terminal or apical bud, these buds present at the apex of the main stem and at the tip of the branches. Lateral buds are present at the axil of the leaves and they develop into a branch or a flower. Extra axillary buds, these buds are formed at the nodes but outside the axil of the leaf. They will not be in between the stem and the axil of the leaf, they will be outside the axil of the leaf, which can be seen in Solanum americanum. Accessory bud, example Citrus and Duranta. Here an extra bud on either side of the axillary bud will be produced. An extra bud on either side of the axillary bud will be seen. Fifthly, we have the adventitious buds. Adventitious buds, if the buds arise from any other part other than the stem. If the buds arise from any other part other than stem, then we call it as adventitious buds. The radical buds are those that arise from the lateral roots, and they can also grow into plantlets. Example Millingtonia, Bergera, Coffea arabica, Eagle marmelos. Foliar buds. So here the buds will be grown on the leaves from the veins or from the margin of the leaves. Example Bryophyllum and Begonia. Corline buds, they arise from the stem, either from the cut end or from the branches. Adventitious buds functions as propagules. They help in the propagation of the plant. Example Dioscorea and agave. Then sixth type of bud is called as bulbils or specialized buds. So it is a modified and enlarged bud meant for only propagation. When these bulbils detach themselves from the parent plant and fall on the ground, they can germinate into a new plant and it becomes a means for vegetative propagation. Example, agave, allium, proliferum. Now types of stem. What are the different types of stem? Excurrent, decurrent, caudex and culm. Excurrent, example Polyalthea and Casuarina. The main stem grows continuously and the lateral branches will gradually become shorter towards the apex and it gives a conical appearance to the trees. Then it is called as excurrent. Decurrent in Mangifera indica, the growth of the lateral buds will be more vigorous than the main axis. And so the tree has a rounded or the spreading appearance. Example, Mangifera or mango tree. Caudex, Cocos nucifera, that is coconut tree. Here it will have the unbranched stout cylindrical stem which is marked with the scars of fallen leaf. That is called as caudex. There are no branches for the caudex type of stem. Culm is the grasses or bamboo. Erect stem with distinct nodes and usually hollow internodes clasped by the leaf sheath. They will be covered by the clasped leaf sheath. They have hollow internodes. Let us learn about the leaf. Leaves are the green, thin, flattened, lateral outgrowth of the stem. They are green, thin, flattened lateral outgrowth of the stem. And leaves of the primary photosynthetic organ and the main organ of transpiration also. All the leaves of the plant together referred as the phylum. What is a phylum? The leaves of the whole plant is called as phylum. What are the characteristic features of the leaf? Leaf is a lateral appendage of the stem. They are attached to the stem. They are borne at the node of the stem. They are exogenous in origin. They are attached laterally, outwardly to the stem. They have limited growth. They cannot keep on growing bigger and bigger. They have limited growth and it does not possess any apical bud. The leaf will not possess apical bud. Only stem will possess the apical bud. And it has three main parts, namely the leaf base, petiole and lamina. So this is the leaf base, petiole, the stalk of the leaf is called petiole, and the lamina. The lamina of the leaf is transversed by vascular strands called veins. What are the functions of the leaf? Again, first, primary functions. What are the primary functions? First one, photosynthesis, prepares the food for the plant. Transpiration, loss of excess water from the plant. Gaseous exchange, it takes in oxygen for respiration and takes in carbon dioxide for photosynthesis. The leaves will protect the bud, growing buds, and it conducts the water and the dissolved solution. The secondary functions are storage. It stores food in aloe vera and agave. It gives protection. Example, opuntia. The leaves are modified into thorns. It gives support to the plant. Example, gloriosa and nepenthes. It is used for reproduction. Example, bryophyllum, begonia and zamia. What are the three important parts? First one, leaf base, which is called as hypopodium. Second one, petiole, mesopodium. Third one, lamina, epipodium. So hypo means down, meso middle, epi means tip. The leaf base, hypopodium, this is the part which is attached to the stem at the nodal region. So it is called as leaf base and it will protect the growing buds at its axil. In some cases it is called as pulvinous. It is little enlarged and it is called as pulvinous. Example, in legume leaves the base become broad and swollen and known as pulvinous. Example, Clitoria, lablab, cassia and butea. In some cases the leaf base will have sheath. It extends into a sheath and clasps the part or whole of the internode. Example, monocot plants. Musaceae. In Bale Maram we can see this leaf sheath and the leaf base. Second part is called as petiole. It's a stalk which attaches the lamina to the stem. It's a bridge between the lamina and the stem. It's called petiole. Petiole is the leaf stalk which is cylindrical some cases flattened structure, and it will join the lamina with the stem. A leaf with petiole is called petiolate. Example, Ficus hibiscus. Sessile, if the leaf do not possess this petiole, it is said to be sessile. Example, Scalotropis. Now the third part is called as lamina or leaf blade. It is the expanded flat portion of the leaf called lamina. It is a site of photosynthesis, transpiration, gaseous exchange, and most of the metabolic reaction takes place only in the lamina. And lamina will be traversed by the midrib in the center, and which will be surrounded by lateral veins and thin veinlets. They show great variation in the shape, margin, surface, texture, color, venation, incision, etc. The next structure is called as stipules. So stipules are one or two lateral appendages at the leaf base of a plant. Example, dicot plants will have the stipules. If the leaves have the stipules, then it is said to be stipulate. If the leaves do not possess stipules, then it is exstipulate. Another structure which is called as ligule. Ligule is an additional outgrowth which is present at the leaf base and lamina. It is seen in the monocot grasses. Stipules. This is a small stipule-like outgrowth which is found at the base of the leaflet. So in a compound leaf, leaflets are present, and at the base of the leaflets, if you have a small outgrowth, it is called as stipules found in the compound leaves. What is the function of the stipules? Its main function is to protect the leaf in the bud condition. Next we shall learn about the venation. What is venation? The arrangement of veins and veinlets on the leaf blade is called as venation. It is again classified into reticulate venation and parallel venation. So in this picture you can see the reticulate venation of a dicot leaf. The leaf contains a prominent midrib which will be branching into secondary veins, and it forms a network of veins. And this is again divided into two types: pinnately reticulate venation and palmately reticulate venation. Pinnately reticulate venation, example, Mangifera indica. In this type, the venation, there is only one midrib in the center from which the many lateral branches will be arising. Whereas in the palmately reticulate venation, which is called as multicostate, there may be two or more principal veins. See, this is a one main vein, second main vein, third main vein. Like this here also you can see first main vein and the second main vein, third main vein. Like that, two or more principal veins will be there. They will be arising from a single point and they will proceed towards them and spread over the lamina of the leaf. Types of palmately reticulate venation, again there are two types of palmately reticulate venation. First one is a divergent type, another one is a convergent type. Divergent type you can see in the papaya leaf, where the principal vein originates from the base of the leaf and diverge from one another towards the margin. In convergent, the vein will start from the base of the leaf and it will converge once again at the end of the leaf. Examples, Ziziphus and Cinnamomum, that is bay leaf. Next type of venation is called as parallel venation. The second type, first type is reticulate, second type is parallel venation. Here the veins will run parallel to each other and they do not form a prominent reticulum. Network will not be there. Network of veins will be absent. And this is the characteristic feature of a monocot leaf. And it is again subdivided into two types, that is pinnately parallel venation, which is unicostate. Example, Musa ginger. And palmately parallel venation, multicostate. In pinnately parallel venation, prominent midrib will be there in the center from which many perpendicular veins will run parallel to each other. In palmately parallel venation, several veins will arise from the tip of the petiole and they will all run parallel to each other and they will unite at the apex. And this is again divided into two types, that is divergent and convergent palmately parallel venation. In divergent, example, Borasus, that is palm, Panaimaram, all the principal veins will originate from the base and they will diverge towards the margin of the leaf, like a fan palm. And a convergent type in bamboo leaf, they will converge at the tip. Even in rice and water hyacinth, All the principal veins will run parallel to each other from the base of the lamina, and they will join at the apex of the lamina. What is meant by phyllotaxy? The mode of arrangement of leaves on the stem. How the leaves are arranged on the stem. It is called as phyllotaxy. Phylloan means leaf and taxis mean arrangement. Phyllotaxy is to avoid the overcrowding of the leaves at one place and to expose the leaves maximum to the sunlight for the photosynthesis. There are 4 types of phyllotaxy, namely alternate, opposite, ternate and whorled. Let us see one by one. Alternate phyllotaxy. So here in this type, there is only one leaf per node, and the leaves are arranged on the successive nodes alternate to each other like this. The spiral arrangement of the leaves on the stem show vertical rows when you see from top, and this is what is called as orthostiches. There are 2 types of alternate phyllotaxy, namely alternate spiral, example hibiscus ficus. Here the leaves are arranged in a spiral manner around the stem, around the cylindrical stem. Alternate disticus and bifarious is example Polyalthia. Here you can see the leaves are arranged alternately in 2 rows on either side of the stem, and this is alternate disticus. Opposite phyllotaxy. Here in this type, each node will possess 2 leaves in the opposite side, which are opposite to each other, and they are organized again in 2 different types, namely opposite superposed. This is the opposite superposed, example Goa. So here you can see the leaves are arranged on the opposite side at a single node. 2 leaves are arranged at the opposite sides at a single node. Similarly, the next type is called as opposite decussate. Example Calotropis erkanjari or Ocimum tulasi. Here one pair of leaf is placed at right angle to the next upper pair and as well as the lower pair of the leaves. This is called opposite and decussate. Opposite decussate. Thirdly, we have the ternate phyllotaxy, in which at each node 3 leaves will be arranged. Example Nerium, Aralipu. 4th type is called whorled. Here more than 3 leaves will be arranged at a node like this. Example Alamanda. What is leaf mosaic? Leaf mosaic is a type where the leaves are tend to fit in with one another. Many leaves will tend to fit in with one another, and they adjust themselves in such a way that they may get more amount of sunlight with minimum amount of overlapping. Here the lower leaves will be having longer petioles, and the successive upper leaves will possess shorter petioles by which they can expose the leaf lamina maximum to the sunlight. Example Acalipa. Now leaf type. According to the pattern of division of the leaf into discrete components or the segments of leaf, we can term it as leaf type. So based on the number of segments the leaf possesses, it is divided into simple leaf and compound leaf. First one, simple leaf. A leaf is said to be simple when the petiole bears a single lamina and it is entire. Example mango. Secondly, compound leaf. Compound leaf is the one in which the main rachis bears more than one lamina surface, which are called as leaflets, and there is one axillary bud at the axil of whole compound leaf. Then it is called as compound leaf. The compound leaves again, it is of 2 types. First one is pinnately compound leaf, second one palmately compound leaf. Pinnately compound leaf, example Tamarindus, tamarind tree. Here it is defined as one in which the rachis will bear laterally a number of leaflets which are alternately placed on the opposite side of the rachis. This is again classified into unipinnate, bipinnate, tripinnate and decompound. In pinnately compound leaf, the rachis will be simple and unbranched, and it will bear the leaflets directly on its side in alternate or opposite manner. This is called unipinnate. Example rose and neem. This unipinnate is again 2 types. First one is peripinnate and second one is imparipinnate. If the leaflets are in even numbers, then it is called as peripinnate and it will end in 2 leaflets. Whereas in imparipinnate, the leaflets are in odd number. It will end with a single leaf at the terminal end. Then it is called as imparipinnate. So parapinnate example tamarindus, imparipinnate example neem. Second type is called bipinnate. Here the primary rachis will produce the secondary rachis like this, and the secondary rachis will bear the leaflets. The secondary rachi are called as pinnae. The third type is called tripinnate, example moringa. When the main rachis branches thrice the leaf is called as tripinnate, and the secondary rachis will produce the tertiary rachi which will bear the leaflets. In decompound, the rachis of the leaf is branched several times, and so it is called as decompound. Example Daucus carota, carrot, and Coriandrum sativum, that is Kottamalli. The second one is called palmately compound leaf. Here palmately compound leaf is defined as one which is having a petiole bears terminally one or more leaflets which seems to be radiating from the common point. One petiole will be there, and it will at the terminal end of the petiole one or more leaflets will be arising from the common point, like fingers from the palm. The types of palmately compound leaves: first one unifoliate, second one bifoliate, third one trifoliate, fourth one quadrifoliate, fifth one multifoliate or digitate. Unifoliate example citrus. So here we can see a single leaflet which is articulated to the petiole. Bifoliate Zornia diphylla. When there are two leaflets articulating to one petiole, we call it as bifoliate. Trifoliate eagle marmelos, wood apple, trifolium clover. There are three leaflets which will be articulating to a petiole, then it is trifoliate. Quadrifoliate Paris quadrifolia. We can see four leaflets articulating to a petiole. Multifoliate or digitate. Here 5 or more leaflets are joined to and they spread like fingers from the palm. Modifications of leaves. Leaves are modified to perform some special functions. First one, leaf tendril Pisum sativum, leaf spines Opuntia, leaf hooks Begonia, leaf bladder Utricularia, leaves for storage Aloe vera, leaves like pitcher, leaves modified as pitcher Nepenthes, phyllodes Acacia, leaves modified floral leaves Dilonix, leaf tendril. Some plants the stem is very weak and hence they have special organs for the attachment and to support the plant. So here the leaves are modified into tendril. So tendril is a slender wiry coiled structure which helps in climbing and supporting. Modification of leaf tendril. Entire leaf is modified in Lathyrus. Stipules are modified into tendril in Smilax. Terminal leaflets are modified into tendril in Naravillia. Leaf tip is modified into tendril in Gloriosa. Apical leaflets are modified into tendril in Pisum, and petiole is modified into tendril in Clematis. Leaf hooks. In some plants the leaves are modified into hooks like this, hook-like structures. This is to help the plant to climb. In catnail Begonia, the leaf spines acts as a hook in asparagus. The leaf spines and prickles. In certain plants the leaves are modified into spines and thorns. Leaves of certain plants develop spinescent structures, the spiny structures, either on the surface or on the margin. This is to protect themselves from the grazing animal, herbivorous animal which come and eat over these plants. Ziziphus agimone mexicana, prickly poppy, Solanum trilobatum. In xerophytes Opuntia, prickly pear. Euphorbia leaves and stipules are modified into spines. So prickles are the small sharp structure which are the outgrowths from the epidermal cells of the stem or leaves, and they protect against the herbivore animals. Storage leaves. In some plants of saline xerophytic habitat and Crassulaceae family, the leaves are modified into fleshy and swollen structures. These succulent leaves store water, mucilage and food material. Such leaves are called as storage leaves, and they can resist desiccation They can resist the dry season. Example, aloe, agave, bryophyllum. The next modification is called phyllodes. In acacia, phyllodes are flat, the green color leaf-like modifications of petiole or rachis. The petiole and the rachis will become flattened and green color, and they perform the function of the leaf. The actual leaflet and the lamina of the leaf is highly reduced and they become caducous. These phyllodes will perform the photosynthesis and other functions of the leaf. The sixth modification is called pitcher. Example, Nepenthes. The leaf become modified into a pitcher, pot-like structure to trap the insects and to overcome the nitrogen shortage, to fulfill their nitrogen need. The Nepenthes, the basal portion of the leaf is laminar and the midrib continues as a coiled tendril-like structure. The apical part of the leaf is modified into pitcher. The mouthpiece of the pitcher is closed by a lid, which is the modification of the leaf apex. So lid is the leaf apex, lamina is the pitcher, midrib is the tendril, and the basal part of the leaf becomes a lamina. Bladder, example, Utricularia. Bladderwort is a rootless, which is a free floating and slightly submerged plant. They are common in the water bodies. The leaf is very much segmented and the segments are modified to form the bladder-like structure to trap the insects. They will trap the aquatic animals. Floral leaves, floral parts such as sepals, petals, stamens, carpels, they are also modified leaves. The sepals and petals, they are protective in function and they are non-essential. They are considered as a non-essential part of the flower. Petals are colored and they attract the insects for pollination, whereas the stamen and the carpels are the essential parts. The stamen bears the pollen. Stamens are the pollen-bearing microsporophylls and carpels are the ovule-bearing megasporophylls. Life duration. According to the duration of the leaf, they are classified into caducous, deciduous, evergreen, marcescent. The leaf may live for few days to many years, and it is largely determined by the adaptation to the climatic condition. The life of the leaf is determined by the adaptation to the climatic condition. So caducous or fagaceous, example, Opuntia and Cissus quadrangularis, they will fall off soon after the formation. In deciduous, example, maple tree, Palmaria, their leaves will fall at the end of the growing season. End of the growing season, all the leaves will fall. In evergreen trees, evergreen plants like Mimosope, Calophyllum, leaf will persist throughout the year. They will not fall, so that the tree is never leafless. The tree will bear the leaf throughout. They are evergreen. The next type is called marcescent. See, example, Fagaceae. The leaves are not falling, but they will wither on the plant. In marcescent, the leaves will not be falling off the trees or the plants, but they will wither on the plant itself. They will dry and the color will be changing, but they will be attached to the plant itself. So you can see the withering marcescent tree example, and these are evergreen plants example. Here again marcescent examples.